We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is Sunday, January 16th, 6:23 a.m. Just got off work. It was a pretty chill night, just a little rough. Got off a little bit late, not super late, but double truck night, so you know how that goes. So I was planning on doing like a fun episode, like something either paranormal or true crime, or there's a Western cowgirl series not a series, but an episode that I have planned. Cowgirl Outlaws, pretty much. But when I get home, I usually like to sit down and eat and, smoke a couple cigarettes before I start podcasting. And I randomly clicked on a video that said something about the U.S. military training to overthrow an illegitimate government. And I was like, what? And by the way, disclaimer, I am not a Q-tard. If you're a new listener, that is probably the only conspiracy that literally irritates me. Now, I did do episodes about a year ago. When I first kind of learned about Q, I did probably 2 or 3 episodes reporting on some QAnon type stuff, but I never fully subscribed, and I always was like, hey, this is what this person's saying, this is what that person's saying, check this out. I did an episode on the whole Castle Rock conspiracy, which I still agree with to this day. There's some weird shit going on. I don't think Joe Biden's in the White House. I'm not even sure if that's the same Joe Biden. He looks totally different. There's a lot of weird shit going on. Now, that being said, I came across something called Robin Sage. And I'm going to read this to you, and it'll kind of explain it. And, yeah. And this is from Business Insider. It's how the Army's Robin Sage put Special Forces hopefuls to a final make-or-break test in the forest of North Carolina. So this is January 12th. Every few months, several North Carolina counties host a unique special operations event. Robin Sage is a 4-week exercise that all Special Forces candidates must pass before they graduate and don the coveted Green Beret. Named after Colonel Jerry Michael Sage, an Office of Strategic Services, so OSS, operative, who was captured by the Nazis and attempted to escape more than 12 times before succeeding. Robin Sage is the culminating exercise of the Special Forces pipeline. It takes place in the fictional country of Pineland, which spans about 50,000 square miles in the woods of North Carolina. The Army Special Forces, known as Green Berets, mainly specialize in training and supporting foreign forces, counterterrorism, and reconnaissance. as well as carrying out its own small-scale raids and ambushes. Green Berets operate in 12-man detachments and work with and through partner forces. They receive extensive cultural and linguistic training that enables them to operate anywhere in the world. But it is during Robin Sage that they get their first real taste of what Special Forces does. This is the road to Robin Sage. To make it to Robin Sage, prospective Green Berets must first pass the Special Forces Assessment and Selection, SFAS, a 21-day course that pushes candidates to their physical and mental limits. Those who successfully complete SFAS move on to the Special Forces Qualification Course, SFQC, or the Q course. Like I said, I'm not a Q-tard, but that is strange that it just happens to be called the Q course. There have been almost 30 different versions of Q course during its nearly 60-year history. Until recently, it was close to 2 years long. However, the course was revamped in 2019 and now lasts about 6 months. It is broken into 4 major phases: small unit tactics, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, SERE, military occupational specialty training, and Robin Sage. After several months of training, students come together for Robin Sage and work as a team using the different skills they have learned. So this is Free Pineland. This is where it gets interesting. In the fictional scenario of Robin Sage, Special Forces candidates must help a guerrilla force, which is usually led by retired Green Berets, overthrow the illegitimate government of Pineland. Quote, "Today we read a lot about proxy warfare, and that is what Robin Sage is in a nutshell," Steve Balistreri, a retired Special Forces warrant officer who also served as an instructor for the course, told Insider. Quote, "The Special Forces candidates have to meet up with and make rapport with a third world nation guerrilla force, train them up, and then work by, with, and through that guerrilla force to conduct combat operations against a numerically superior enemy occupying force," Balistreri said. During Robin Sage, students are tested on what they have learned in Q course. They teach their partner force small unit tactics, provide medical care, build outposts, and establish communications with headquarters. They also conduct reconnaissance, raids, ambushes, and numerous other missions, and are tested on or on other challenges they might encounter on the battlefield. For example, teams are often presented with war crime scenarios where their partner force wants to quote-unquote execute a prisoner or quote-unquote destroy a village. It falls on the team to successfully negotiate those delicate situations without losing the support of their allies or violating the laws of war. It is the ever-important human element that makes Robin Sage special. The social interactions between the team and the guerrillas might mean mission success or failure on the battlefield. Our Robin Sage infiltration was supposed to be brutal, our rucks weighing more than 100 pounds each, John Black, a retired Green Beret, told Insider. Quote, "We had packed everything in preparation for more than 2 weeks in the field with no resupply. 2 Black Hawk choppers dropped us off behind enemy lines where we were to meet our partner force in the middle of the night," Black said. "We walked and walked with this guy for hours in what seemed like a circle. He was lost. The captain asked to help him navigate with the map. Turned out we had been circling the camp for hours, and the solution was simple: ask if he needed help." Perhaps the most important aspect of Robin Sage is the hands-on lesson it provides to future operators about the main mission of Special Forces, which is unconventional warfare, activities that help a resistance movement or insurgent force take on a bigger power. Quote, as a Green Beret, I feel Robin Sage is imperative and really gets you to think about what the real mission of Special Forces to work with and through a partner force, Black added. Very little of what a Green Beret does is kicking in doors and getting bad guys. Robin Sage definitely helped prepare me for life as an operator on a team. Quote, what makes Robin special is how well and smoothly it's run from the time the student teams go into isolation until they infiltrate and are actively engaged with the G-Force, Balistreri said, referring to the guerrilla force. Quote, it rams home how important is when operating in a guerrilla warfare, unconventional warfare environment to at least have the nominal support of the population, Balistreri added. Robin Sage is so realistic that a few years ago, a student was killed and another wounded by a police officer who wasn't aware of the event and thought that they were robbers. Since then, before every Robin Sage begins, local communities are thoroughly notified. The exercise and its lessons largely are what differentiate Green Berets from other U.S. Special Operations units. Quote, Robin Sage is tremendously important in the career of every Special Forces soldier because it takes everything that you've been taught thus far in the SFQC and gears it towards SF's true mission, which is unconventional warfare, Balistreri said. As the U.S. prepares for a renewed era of great power competition with China and Russia, and as irregular warfare becomes increasingly important, Robin Sage is more relevant than ever. But, yeah, interesting. And I mean, this is just my belief, and this is from evidence of seeing videos of like ballots being pulled out under tables. We are in a illegitimate presidency government. So it would be nice, hey, that's the thing about QAnon that I tell my buddy, either way I win. Because I don't believe in QAnon. I believe it's a psyop based off of Operation Trust. Look into that. Hell, I might even do a whole episode on that. But, yeah, either way I win, because if it is real, that means that the good guys win and save the day. If it's not real, it just means I'm right, and I get to laugh at you and go, haha, I told you so. So, it's a win-win for me either way, not believing in it. But I did find it odd and, I don't know, interesting that they do a exercise of literally overthrowing an illegitimate government, and it's called Q-Force. I just found that strange. So hit me up in the comments what you guys think about it. So let's actually get into this Operation Trust since we got some time. Operation Trust. It ran from 1921 to 1926. This is Russian Revolution and Today, and Q. Shortly after World War I, Russia went through a transformation that defined it for many decades. In 1918, a communist revolution took hold in Russia, and by 1918, an armed revolution began as civil war broke out. This lasted for about 6 years until 1923, when the Soviet Union was firmly established. Officially, the Soviet Union was formed in 1922, but the Civil War did not stop immediately. Some record it ending in October of 1922, some the following year. The Soviet Union was led by heavy left-leaning individuals, Lenin pushed to end the war with Germany and promised land to the peasants as well as food. During the time leading up to the Civil War and after, there were strikes, mutinies, protests, etc. Much like what we are seeing in America today. Lenin did not hold power long. He led Soviet Russia from 1917 to 1922, when the Soviet Union from 1922 to 1924, when he died. Joseph Stalin then took over and led from 1922 to 1953. Stalinism was implemented in 1927, which translated into a single-party system that ran a police state. The purpose of this writing is not to show the backstory of Russia, but to focus specifically on two aspects, Operation Trust and the parallels to America in 2021. As the saying is often repeated, those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it. Operation Trust was a government program that was aimed at defusing the opposition while the Soviet Union grew its roots. There were a few assassination attempts and uprisings during the early 1920s. This was implemented in 1921. It was framed as a revolutionary system, and they used many truths in order to lure dissenters. What odd logic in reality occurred during this time in Russia was much of the population left to other countries. They could freely gather and discuss ideas. Not only was this operation great at getting people within Russia, but it was adept at pulling people from other countries that were a threat. Spies even fell for the lies, including a famous spy named Sidney Riley, who was lured to the border and captured. He was tortured and executed on November 5th, 1925, according to reports. Remember the 5th of November. Why this historical event was of such interest is because there is a movement many will recognize as Q, or QAnon. Operation Trust gave people partial truth with strategic lies that led many to situations where they were captured or executed. They gave the illusion that Russia was going to be okay, and that those fighting against the communism were winning. Today we have a person, or possibly AI, that is posting incredibly similar ideas, things like trust the plan, or the military has been making arrests, and Trump will be inaugurated still. Today is the 18th of January. What occurred on January 6, 2021 follows the same pattern, and even would back in 1921 Russia. Only instead of ideas being spread on the ground, ideas are spread through the internet at lightning speed. One thing we saw at the Capitol was a large representation of QAnon. A small group went there with zip ties, weapons, etc., believing they were on a mission that was relayed by QAnon. This is where Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed inside the Capitol. If you take into account the many things that did not add up, including police removing barricades and encouraging people to come inside, police standing down and opening doors where protesters walked in unhindered, how the police took pictures with many protesters early on inside the Capitol, how there were people on bullhorns barking orders, including a woman who was guiding people where to go to drop down to a lower level within the Capitol. Regardless of what the mainstream media is saying, Antifa was clearly present and were provocatoring people. One was caught saying to burn the Capitol down. Pardon. Throat's dry. Hang on, let me get a drink. Oh, God. Oh, sorry about that. And then appeared on CNN later saying he was just reporting what was happening. He has been since arrested as more videos come out. There were also the Boogaloo Boys present. I have no idea who the fuck that is. This is a left-leaning, fully armed group that backs BLM. As of this post, they are recorded as being present in about 6 capitals currently fully armed. What we know happened in Soviet Russia and the Soviet Union, the entire event that we are seeing unfold is eerily reminiscent of the past. QAnon encouraged people to storm the Capitol, leftist provocateurs igniting the violence that pulled in many Q supporters, crazy right-wing people and others who are now on the FBI wanted list and facing years in prison with felony charges. What does this accomplish? It has effectively taken out a good number of people brave enough to act, removed their weapons, and removed them from the streets. The Capitol was a false flag setup. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. YouTube's going to get me now. It is widely believed that it was supposed to be much larger, but the conservative group en masse did not partake in the illegal activities. Now, what are we hearing from Q? Trust the plan. Arrests are being made. The Pope has been arrested. There will be blackouts on this date, which keeps changing. There will be messages over the emergency broadcast system. Don't worry, the military is at the Capitol to arrest all the evil people. Trump is playing 4D chess. It is an unpopular thing to say right now, but it is a highly probable scenario that QAnon is the modern version of Operation Trust. If one takes a moment to compare the similarities to Russia in 1921 and America in 2021, it is scary. You have the Civil War aspect, then the communist agenda perpetrated by the left. You have a left leader coming into power who does not look sane enough to last even 2 years. Many think that Kamala Harris will be president after they vote Biden as mentally unfit relatively soon. He has trouble stringing sentences together and has a temper that comes out from time to time. In Russia, the Civil War was between the Reds, the Bolsheviks, and the Whites, the counter-revolutionary. The interesting note today, they are using black and white or red and blue. It's classic divide and conquer. There were also economic issues and social changes that preceded the Civil War in Russia. Stalin implemented a central economic plan. What is the topic today we hear about? Basic income that the government would supply. What occurred in Russia was a rapid industrial growth period that led to famine and gulags being expanded upon. The famines lead to millions starving to death, and not just in Russia. Ukraine and millions starve as a result. The estimates are between 5.5 to 8 million starvation-related deaths. Millions were a result of birth defects. At the time, Russia had about 168 million people, which is about 3.5% of the population dying from starvation-related causes. If you take that same percentage today, that would equate to almost 12 million Americans starving in the same situation. It is unclear what will happen in the next few days. Perhaps QAnon is right, and Trump will swoop in and save the day like a type of Christ. However, this seems highly unlikely, though it is possible still. If you take into consideration that the Capitol has more troops than that Canada has active troops, that they are guarding monuments that only the left target, and that President Trump has been largely silent, which is unlike him. The complete lockdown of D.C., including checkpoints, how much time it actually took to plan the movement of 25,000 troops, etc., you could make a case for it. Consider this. Those who know what is happening are not talking. Those who don't know a thing about what's happening are talking a whole lot. Fact is, we have no idea what's going to happen. It is quite disturbing that people will put their faith in a single letter, Q, online. No one knows who it is or even what it is. There are speculations now that it could be an AI system learning how to infiltrate movements, not physically, but through false hopes aimed at pushing movements towards violence. The other interesting aspect to this whole thing is that Q is specifically a conservative-based audience, which has a lot of Bible-believing Christians. People are putting more faith in the invisible Q than they are in God. Maybe the plan will be completed as people believe, but that gives only 4 years until this event happens again. What will we see when a Democrat wins the next election and Trump is out of office? This movement is bigger than if Trump gets in or not. We need to focus on preserving the Constitution and not losing the moral high ground. So there you have it. There's an overview of basically Operation Trust. I've been mentioning it like several videos. I've mentioned how I needed to do an episode on Operation Trust, and that was honestly the best info. I found it on the subject, so I figured I'd present you guys with it. Let me know in the comments what you think, though. But honestly, the whole QAnon thing, it sounds exactly like Operation Trust. That's just my opinion, though. But yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up there. Episode's long enough, and honestly, I don't want to get into a whole nother subject. I think that's actually a pretty good spot to end it. Discussing Operation, or the Robin Sage exercise and Operation Trust. But I hope you all have a good day, and I'll go ahead and plug my stuff. If you're an audio listener only, please subscribe to me on YouTube. It's a Conspiracy Corner podcast. The profile picture is a bunny rabbit with a samurai sword. It's a good way to put, honestly, a face to a voice. And we do other videos on there. I do videos like once in a blue moon. I'll do cooking videos. I'll do taste test videos. I'll do unboxing videos. Me and Sammy, we have a ghost hunting team we created called Spectre, where we go ghost hunting. We also go cryptid hunting. There's hiking videos. There's book reviews. There's all sorts of stuff, that daily life stuff, and just random videos that I make. You might even find some weird, funny videos on there too. But and if you're subscribed to us on YouTube and you want to listen to us audio only, which some people do because your phone goes into sleep mode and it saves your battery if you're at work or you're working around the house or whatever, you can find us on Breaker, Google Podcast, Radio Public, Spotify, and Anchor. But I guess that's it, and I'll wrap it up there. You all have an awesome day. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings. Secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.